Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Well, it's Tooth Day for you, not Thursday, but it's Tooth Day.
It's Tooth Day, yes. I'm going to the dentist. There's no secrets on this show. I'm going to the dentist, you know.
Well, there are some. There are some. But,
I'm going to the dentist today, so if tomorrow I look a little down in the mouth, then you'll know why.
And you know, the amazing thing is, you didn't call him, he called you. So,
yeah, well, business is slow. You know?
Hey, Jim, you've got a toothache. Come in here.
Yes. Okie dokie.
I do? You don't know it yet, but you've got one.
Hey,
get in here.
I got a question.
I got an answer.
Would you get into a tube that's 23 feet long, and would you then get in and have the only exit that you can get out of, right? The only exit is sealed from the outside with 17 bolts. And then you go down 12,000 feet or something like that. I mean, some ridiculous depth. I think it's 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
Well, no.
Neither would I.
I'm claustrophobic anyway, and, that kicks in my anxiety. And the people around me are all going to get cold cocked because I start swinging and not knowing why. That's what would happen. But, look at it this way. You're technically, now the owner that made the thing also admitted he took some shortcuts in making that stuff.
Oh, yeah. He's driving it,
Yeah. Well, here I am. I'm sitting there going, I'm going like, that's like paying $2,000 for a ticket and then finding out once you get in the water, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you, it's a one-way ride. What?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, what?
They, let me give you a little, this submersible. It's not a submarine. A submarine can bring its own power. Yeah, it can bring itself down. It can bring itself back. This, I guess, can maneuver to a certain extent, but it can't do all the things you wish a submarine. I got to tell you, these poor people, I pray to God that by the time the show is over, we have some good news because I think they're running out of time as far as oxygen goes. What a horrible, horrible thing. You can only pray that they return safely. But somebody said the search area is the size of 2 states of Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big, big area.
Yeah, and I could not imagine. Now, I used to scuba dive, and I've been down 100 feet, a little bit over that, but I had, the proper gear and everything, and you could still see, I could imagine down there. It's crazy. Do they even have electricity? Because do they have power on board or not? You got to wonder, and they got to conserve and everything. So, that's like being, sealed up and buried in a coffin.
They said they found an area where they thought they heard some knocking, some ping. Somebody said it was at every 30 minutes, at 30-minute intervals that they heard this knocking. Here's what the knocking sounded like. Listen. Now that sounds. Okay. It sounds. I heard 3 short, 2 long. I didn't hear the 3 short afterward. That would have been SOS, right?
Yeah, that's dot.
Yeah.
Did. Now that was a cup, I think, on the front end, banging the cup. Boom, boom, boom. They made their, their big middle part.
Let me play it again. Let's play it again and see whether we missed something.
Oh, wait.
I heard 3 short and 4 long there, so I guess it's SOS. I think would have been
dot. Yeah. It's 333.
Is it 3-3? Yesterday they said 3-2-3, 3 long, 2 short, 3 long. I whatever it is, It was. It sounded like a human made that noise.
Yeah, I mean, you're making noise down there, and Morse code is the international code, but it's no longer known by a lot. It's not used that much anymore because of technology, whatnot. So it's very possible they're down there going, okay, what's Morse code? I don't know. It goes something like this, and you're in a panic mode. So who the hell knows?
They said that the person who is down there driving this submersible is the owner, and he's kind of proud of the fact that he's a bit woke. He has said that he doesn't hire, veteran Sea or Navy people. He hires younger folks with the dream and stuff like that. Well, I don't know about you, but if I got in one of those tubes and went down 12,000 feet, I would want the most experienced pilot on the planet at the control.
I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. And by the way, Morris, I just looked it up. I was right. It's 3 dots, 3 dashes, 3 dots.
So it's three short. I mean, if you were knocking, it would be
3 short.
Then would be
3 long.
Yeah. And then
3 short.
Yeah.
Now, you got to realize, too, that sound does travel in the water, but, that last dot kind of faded away.
Yeah.
So, the sound could have varied. They could be weak as all hell down there. And if that guy is a rogue guy, kind of does his own thing, there's probably, and he admitted before, yeah, he took a lot of shortcuts. Well,
my God.
Maybe.
Bill,
where did he take the shortcuts?
Well, he first of all, I should point out that every passenger paid $250,000 for a seat in that tube. Secondly, they have one bathroom which is in the nose of the submersible, right next to the window, and you use it you sit there, you do your business, and you pull a curtain. And that's it. And I guess you turn on some music to drown out whatever noises, but you're sitting in the same room as the bathroom, okay? I mean, the conditions are not great by any stretch.
Hopefully it's not a bucket, but right now it doesn't matter, But,
they so you're paying $250,000 to take a ride in this thing. It is being controlled by, I believe they said, a PlayStation controller. Now, somebody said, well, that's not a big deal. The periscope on new submarines today are literally Xbox controllers.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they use those controllers because they have the proper apparatus. Excuse me. They have the proper apparatus to sit there and do what they want and interface with the electronics that are in everything now. So...
But, the thing is, Bill, the guy I saw the interview with the owner, and he was kind of bragging about the ease of operation. It's all run by this little controller, this PlayStation controller, so that I can just toss it around and anybody can drive the unit. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, I don't want everybody driving the submersible. I want one person piloting the submersible who knows how to handle it. Let's say, hypothetically, somebody has the controller and he says, boy, I'd like to get a little closer to the Titanic. Just a little closer. That's wreckage. It's scrap metal, and it's twisted and bent, and it collapses now because it's been down there for 113 years, the Titanic. So, I mean, let's say you got really close. Let's say you thought, well, I think I'm going to park it right on top of this deck. Let's get on the Titanic.
And the deck gives away.
Exactly. The deck gives away. These people may not be trapped around the Titanic.
You're going to be trapped in it.
That's exactly right.
Now, the French have sent their submersible there, and they've got it in the water. They're going down, and they're hoping that they can, with theirs, get to where it is. But, you can't do a hatch-to-hatch thing, from what I understand in this. And depending where it is, that would, even if you could, it could make it difficult. So they're going to have to find a way to hook it up and pull it up. And how much time when did we first lose it, or they lose it?
I think literally today is the D-Day. Today is it. Today, they will be out of air today.
Yeah, and, I don't know how long you'll survive when the air runs out, or they're going to have to make sacrifices of people to prolong the air. I mean, if they come out, there's going to be, this will be a made-for-TV movie. That we're watching, and I'm not saying that, somebody got movies there, but there will be, because they're going to have to make some judgment calls of who gets the chance to go on and who can be sacrificed.
Bill, don't they have
survival?
Don't they have air scrubbing masks and things like that give you extra time? I mean, in the old,
this guy took shortcuts, so why would he have that?
That's true. He really did take shortcuts, big time. For example, there's no GPS. We talked about this, I think, yesterday. There's no GPS, and there's no pinger on it. A pinger is a device that sends off an emergency echo noise so that you can find them. There's nothing on this submarine, the submersible, that says, here we are, we're stuck. See,
I would have, if I were in that sub, I don't know how many people are in it, but I would have said, okay, your job for the next five people.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
5 people.
So each person could take a 5-hour shift or a 3-hour shift, and all their job is to do is.
That's exactly right.
And the others take a rest. And then when you hit your 5 hours, hey, get up, huh? Yeah, come over here and start boom, 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 boom. And now I go take a nap, and you pass it around the line, because what else are you going to do in that damn sub? Nothing.
I just don't understand how a guy could make a device like this, cut so many corners, and think that he can, nothing's going to happen. You're going, 2 miles? 2 miles down? 2 miles down, and the fact that you are sealed in with 17 bolts from the outside, you couldn't get out of this thing now if you wanted to. Somebody has got to literally grab hold of this submarine and pull it to the surface somehow. If it's stuck in the wreckage, even if they find them alive, let's say it's stuck in the wreckage, I don't think they can get into it. And if, let's say hypothetically, they get into it, the pressure will kill them if they open the hatch.
Yeah.
I mean, it is such a terrible situation to be in. Like I said, I pray to God that by some divine luck, these people are found alive and they are in a position where they can be rescued, that they're not stuck in the Titanic, that they're maybe outside on the ground and in an area where they can be taken hold of and taken to the top. But the thing is, they have things to deal with bends now. You're bringing this thing up.
Decompression, yeah. Well, what they're going to have to do, but I don't know how that's going to work, because unless they can get air into it, when you bring them up, the bubbles, nitrogen bubbles, are going to go from the toes and come right up the body and, through the chest, the heart, and then the brain. You're dead. The only thing that you can possibly do is everybody invert themselves. In other words, upside down. So
the bubbles stay in your feet.
Yeah, and you're upside down. That gives you somewhat of a time to where if you were rescued, they could get you in a decompression chamber, which I'm sure they've got on a waiting ship up there. They're going to have to get them immediately out of there and into the chamber, or they're dead on. That depth.
This is a nightmare scenario. The whole thing is a nightmare, Bill. I mean,
yeah, and they're breathing oxygen now. They're in a pressurized thing, so probably. See, I don't know that they have the bends if that thing is proper. Whereas, like when you're in a suit, it's the weight of the atmosphere that's every 40 feet increases. You get 40 feet. Up to 40 feet is 1 atmosphere. 80 feet is 2, So like when scuba divers, they go by the Navy dive chart, and that'll tell you how far down you can go. And that tells you, where you come up and you stop and you decompress, and then you come up a little bit more and you naturally decompress. You plan all that in your dive.
I don't know whether
you're dead.
I don't know whether there's a outside port that they can connect to feed oxygen into that tube. I guess the only thing they can do right now is forget the bends, like you said, and literally just get them to the top as fast as they can, and then throw them into a tank as fast as they can and hope for the best.
Yeah, they'll be in the tank for a long time, so they're going to have somebody that's willing to go in that tank with them and tend to them and see, the tanks aren't big.
No,
that's the other thing. So I don't know. This is not going to have a happy ending. It's already a sad story, no matter what, but it's not going to have a happy ending. Now, it is a distraction, yes, but it's a necessary distraction. There was no way this was planned, intended, or anything. It's unfortunate. But while it happens, a lot of strange things have been going on in the news. The Biden DOJ is really fast at work.
Before we get there, Bill, I just want to read you the line from Stockton Rush, who is the pilot. Right. He's the pilot and the owner of the Ocean Gate Titan. All right. It's ironic, by the way, that it's called the Titan, and they're going down on the Titanic. It just and they may be stuck. He said this: "When I started business, other sub-operators were out there, but they typically had gentlemen who are ex-military submariners, a whole bunch of 50-year-old white guys," he said during a 2020 interview. "I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational. A 25-year-old who's a sub-pilot or a platform operator or one of our techs can be inspirational," he said, while an image of a female crew member showed on the screen during the interview. "We also want our team to have a variety of different backgrounds." This guy was more concerned about being woke, about being diverse, than to be qualified and to be capable, and I don't know how the 4 passengers could have gotten into this tube without having checked every aspect of this trip. One of the guys who's on the trip, I believe, is the richest man in Pakistan, and his son, so he spent $500,000 to be on this trip. You would have thought a guy with that kind of business acumen would have really done his homework on this submersible and this company before he sat in it. Yeah, well, you're right, but I don't know how you do it. I mean, I would have, wouldn't you? Would have probably.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have done it, But then again, I know a little bit more about it because as a hobby, one time I don't anymore, but I used to scuba dive and I loved it. It was a great thing. But you learn things too. I also learned you don't eat eggs for breakfast when you go down about 80 feet because it turns to gas. And, under that compression, the gas bubbles you have that might be the size of a golf ball down at, 80, 90 feet or the size of a pinhead. So when you come up, all of a sudden your gut goes, "Oh, geez, I got to go back down," and slow. Wait for nature to,
Oh my gosh, but that's too much information. But I got to tell you,
but think that's how it works.
I want to play it one more time. This is what they heard. Okay, now mind you, that was released, I believe, by the Coast Guard, but then they're saying, on another hand, they say the Coast Guard says they are not aware of any sounds coming from the area. Now, I just played for the tape, and they had that tape. I don't know, maybe they think that sound is coming from one of the search vessels, which is a possibility, I guess.
Yeah, it could be, but one of the survivors of it. Boy, we're really delving into this, but that's okay. One of the survivors of, when I say survivors, he went down on another dive. Now, a couple of things he said. It's very common every time it's gone down. The 4 times he did, the communications in that sub went out.
Wow.
And he also described the communications and what they're going to do. And he acted as if, it's actively going on. But from what I understood, pretty much, the sounds that you heard were a few days ago. There hasn't been much sound now. I can't confirm that, but that would tell me that, there is a crush death. Now, maybe this thing was made to survive that, but there is a crush death.
Oh, yeah.
And perhaps those sounds,
I know where you're going. I hope you're wrong, but this is a terrible time. It's a nightmare scenario, and it's happening to 5 people. Woke or not. Here's what I hope. I hope they find the submarine. I hope they bring the submarine up. I hope everyone's healthy and fine, and they can, tell their story to their friends. And but I think that this guy Stockton, whatever his name was, I think he should the owner. I think he should make some improvements and explain himself to the people as to why the submarine was so ill prepared.
He's driving it, right?
Yeah.
So he may not get a chance to make those improvements. I'm sure right now, if he's alive, and God, I hope he is he's sitting there going, boy, only if I should. And who knows, maybe the crew in there, the people in there that paid for it, they might have mutinied him already.
Oh, I know. He may not be.
Bastard.
Yeah. Well, hit the pinger. We don't have one. What?
Yeah, I mean, what would you do in that scenario? I know what people do. As a matter of fact, if you look at your messenger, you'll see a couple of them. But this is tragedy, and sometimes people don't know how to deal with the emotions, so they deal with it with humor, twisted, weird humor. With the Challenger, when that happened, with Christy McCullough and all of that, there were memes, there weren't memes, but there were jokes. Now there are memes with the punchline, so...
I have a hard time laughing at all about. All I can do when I think about this situation right now, and this is just me, all I can do is pray, yeah, and hope for a miracle, because it sounds like it's going to take a miracle to find them. Someone said, look how long it took them to find the Titanic, and the Titanic is 1,000 times bigger than this submersible, which is true. But the other thing is, I guess Ballard, the guy who found the Titanic, the difference is when he got a certain technology that came along, once he had that technology, he was able to find the Titanic in 4 days. Because he was able to. Now, I'm hoping that there's a technology out there that we're not aware of that they're using right now that will find this needle in that haystack,
Well, if there was a technology that was out there, I think we would have deployed it days ago. Why would we drag our feet around the world? It would have been deployed. So, there are many things we don't know. And I think we know more about outer space than we do about inner space. That was one of the things we were taught when we scuba dived, the history of it. But you quickly learned that going into inner space, into the world, into the oceans, is a bigger mystery than outer space.
Well, you think about airplanes, right? Every airliner has redundant systems, safety systems. Yeah. They have 2 altimeters that are run by separate systems. They have different, if you lose engine A or engine 1, you can run it on engine 2. I mean, there are backups. You would have thought that the maritime rules would be such that there would be backup systems built into every aspect of this submariner, this submersible. You can't get on an airplane unless it's certified. The plane has to be certified by the FAA and all these other government regulation. So it's not a difficult process. When you see a new airliner being introduced to the world, that thing's gone through a rigid list of tests and had to pass certain rules and regulations before it got to the point of being able to be sold. This thing here, apparently, the guy could have built it in his backyard. I mean, who the heck gets into a device that goes 2 miles down without having some kind of an emergency beacon? I mean, I don't know.
Well, people do stupid things. Oh, who was the TV host that got on a lawn chair with balloons?
Oh, I remember that. Who
was that? Letterman?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There was somebody, but yeah,
and he thought it was going to be funny, and I think it took him like quite a distance.
Yeah, you got tangled up in stuff, but yeah, if I go get these balloons and fill them up with helium, tie them to a lawn chair, I'll be floating.
Yes.
Oh, that's one of those who the hell would have thought moments,
Well, I mean, that's when I think we give certain people too much credit for intelligence. Yeah. We equate celebrity with brains. One of the things I've learned in my long existence on this planet is some of the people I thought were really special, when you meet them in person, they're not.
I'm 25 years old. That's not a long existence.
Thank you very much. Yes, your check will be in the mail. Other things happening in the news, Bill. You were talking about the Durham report. John Durham was testifying in front of Congress yesterday.
Yeah, he ripped Schiff one, because Schiff was trying to bring up these that Trump got a phone call, or Trump's son got a phone call from a person that was Russian that had dirt.
I know,
on the other
what a
side.
joke that was.
and he's going, well, people get phone calls from people all the time that say that they have something on someone. You ought to know this, But he kept on with the story. But the interesting thing is, it's that old Russia thing again.
Oh, I know. They don't
which
give
was
up.
A fake story. But there were tapes. And as a matter of fact, I know it's online.
I know. I would have, if I had more time, I had a software problem, so I couldn't go out and find it.
We might have it for you tomorrow. But the point is that every time he pinpointed a question, you could play the tape of him talking to this woman, giving him information on the bed thing, that disgusting thing. Everything that he has cried out, he was duped by a female prankster. She and you have Russian officials saying, "Oh yeah, that's true, but she's of nefarious background. She's just a comedian, or whatever they said." She's making it all up, and he took this stuff and ran with it, and then he pulled the Adam Schiff writer thing. Well, I can take this and I can embellish it and really make it something. That's
it.
Adam.
It has been proven, Bill, that he's a liar, and the whole story is made up. Proven, yet he doesn't give up on it.
But, it was a bad day for him yesterday. He got censured.
Oh, I know he did.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, now, granted, it was right down the line, but he got censured. And then he got his ass handed to him by Durham. Now, the funny thing is, the Democrats in the House, shame, 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 shame. Why? We caught you in a lie?
Do you know what he said about censure? They
he's wearing it like a badge of honor.
I take it as a badge of honor because this says that I'm effective. They go after people they think are effective. I exposed the corruption of the former president. I led the first impeachment trial of the former president to the first bipartisan vote to remove a president in U.S. history. And I'm proud of that work, and I would do it again.
If you look in the dictionary for the definition of weasel, you'll see his picture.
Well, here's the deal. He said he wears it like a badge of honor because that we're going after people of importance. No, Adam, we're not. But you did do a tell. You see, it's proven that you lied about all of this, that you're trying to cast your blame on somebody else, and you're going after somebody of importance, just like all the Democrats have done. And, you impeached the president. That's terrible. On false information that was proven right there and before. Adam, you're a liar. And by the way, if you don't know what a liar is, I suggest you take a walk down the hall, walk into the bathroom, and take a good look in the mirror. And, hey, you will see the biggest liar there is right now.
But he wears it, like he said, has a badge of honor. This guy knows no shame. He knew that when he started this story years ago that it was a lie. He was on all of the TV networks. And by the way, the woke media, they had him on as a guest on numerous occasions. They welcomed him as a victorious leader of their cause. They asked him all the right questions, and he was able, with a smile, to say all the things that President Trump had done wrong, all of those lies that Bill was talking about, and they just literally didn't challenge the guy. They almost applauded him for doing this. So he's out there now. He's still... Do you know that the Democrats, when this came down last night, the censure, they were chanting, shame, shame, shame. I mean, talk about a bunch of children. First of all, they're in the halls of Congress. I don't know about you, but it's almost like being in a church, or it should be anyway. But they don't treat it that way. They're a bunch of like high school kids who aren't happy with their lunch, and they're going to protest in the cafeteria.
They proved what they are, the Democrats, because not only were they doing shame, 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 but they proved that they are being led because they're sheep. Because then after the shame, they were going bad, bad, and they did say bad, bad, bad. So bad, somebody had mentioned about to me about the person that's going after Trump and whatnot was actually a Trump appointee. And the comedy keeps getting better and better and better. Well, you guys are the comedy writers, and we've explained this before. Some of the appointees were people that were vetted, that were trusted, supposedly by the Trump's mistake was he didn't understand at the time coming in how deep the state was and how many people had been corrupted and were posers on the Republican side.
That's true. He didn't pick, by the way. They say, well, he was a Trump appointee. They make it sound like Trump sat down with a book and went through the qualifications of every single person that was in his administration. The fact is, he wouldn't have had time to do it. There are like 2,000 appointees in an administration. He has to take it on the advice of trusted personnel, and these were people who couldn't be trusted, obviously, because they put these deep staters into his administration.
Yeah, these people don't have elected jobs. The trusted personnel is staff that's been there forever. So if you got a Democratic staff in there, well, who are they going to sit there and ultimately side with and work for? We can trip this guy up and get him out of here in 4 years if we don't impeach him first. Oh, speaking of which, now it was a good day for the Bidens with the DOJ with Hunter, number one. Hunter's charges, 2 misdemeanors, and then the gun thing is basically going to go away. So there's really going to be no jail time or anything. But, a lot of this stuff stemmed from, his child support thing with the illegitimate child, which DNA has proved he is the daddy of the little girl. And, the mom wants more child support because there's more money out there. And she wants her daughter to bear the Biden name because in time, it's important because of her future wealth. So Mama Bear wanted to look out for her kid. Well, Biden's DOJ, it was a good day for Hunter because his child support got reduced by 75%.
Unbelievable.
75%. And the judge also ruled that the child is not entitled to have her daddy's last name.
Unbelievable. I mean, tell me that this isn't a corrupt system right now. I mean,
now
that is just mind-boggling.
If you're a Democrat, and guys, unless you know something I don't, I'll talk to the women. Women, you had an affair in a drug-induced moment with Hunter Biden. You got pregnant, but you're still a mom. You're raising that kid, and he owes you money to raise that child. And because he has money and there's probably inheritance, she needs to, have her daddy's name and be able to at least, she deserves that name. and they say no to you. They say no, absolutely no. Forget about your politics. Is it right?
Well, I mean, Joe Biden doesn't even acknowledge the child as one of his grandchildren.
No, Joe doesn't.
Hunter hasn't seen the child. He hasn't even.
No, he hasn't. And Dr. Jill, no, it's not. This is all fantasy.
Yeah.
Well, just like your presidency and first ladyship, it's all fantasy, but and we're living in the reality of a screwed up situation.
Well, I can't imagine that that decision is going to stand. If I were the lawyers of that woman and that little child, I would have said, "Look, don't worry about it. We're going to appeal this decision, and I'm not going to charge you." I mean, that's what I would have done. This is nonsense. This is a sympathetic judge ruling in favor of the administration. But anyway, I wanted to play this for you. This is, first of all, John Durham. To give you an idea of how childish the Democrats were yesterday in the hearing, and they were childish. Have you heard some of these questions? Well, you're going to hear one. You're going to hear a response from, I think his name is, don't go away, I got to find the guy's name.
I'm standing by.
Yes,
I'm standing by.
He is lost to eternity because I can't find it. But anyway, it is a representative. He is a Democrat, and he is upset with Durham's approach to the Durham report. And well, listen to what he says.
Well, I tried to follow your report. Mr. Donald Trump Jr. would have called it a nothing burger. Mm-hmm. You got no convictions. You got nothing. It was all set up to hurt the Mueller report, which was correct and was redacted, to hurt the Bidens and to help Trump. And you were a part of it. You have a good reputation. You had a good reputation. That's why the two Democrats supported you. But the longer you hold on to Mr. Barr and this report that Mr. Barr gave you as special counsel, your reputation will be damaged. As everybody's reputation who gets involved with Donald Trump is damaged. He's damaged goods. There's no good dealing with him because you will end up on the bottom of a pyre. I yield back the balance of my time.
Sure. We presume the gentleman's undecided on how he feels about the former president.
Gentlemen, witness can respond. Yeah, my concern about my reputation is with the people who I respect, and my family and my Lord. And I'm perfectly comfortable with my reputation with them, sir.
Well said. God bless you.
And then, of course, the audience applauded the answer. But the guy's name was Representative Steve Cohen, a nasty SOB. Nothing about what he said was based on fact. It was just emotion, and he can't stand Donald Trump. You'll be burning on the pyre of whatever he said at the end.
Almost sounded like a threat to me. Your reputation... if you support Trump, we're going to screw your reputation. And that's how I took it. That was a threat.
Well, don't you think a lot of people on the left think that they're in the ultimate control right now? I mean, they think that they got the world by the tail. But I also think you're sensing, even though they think they have the power, they're having some doubt in that, and that's why they're getting nasty. It's like they're seeing Trump doing well in the polls. They're seeing him be attacked and rise in the polls. They're seeing all the things that they don't understand. They know they have the power. They know that they're supposed to be the top gun in Washington, but yet things are happening that don't fit the narrative, if you know what I'm saying. So that's why they get a bit testy, like this guy Cohen just did. I mean, you heard the Democrats respond to the censure last night. Mm-hmm. Well, they sounded like petulant little children, and it's the kind of government that we have right now. It's the system that's controlling our lives. Instead of having a solid, rock solid system, we have a bunch of people who are posing and playing at being leaders of the country. It's a scary time to be in the United States. When my dad was a young man and I was a child, I can remember feeling when he talked about government, he talked with reverence about, U.S. Representative so-and-so said, or the vice president said, and there was some importance to the position, that he would talk with deference and reverence. You don't see that now. You see a bunch of clowns. How do you applaud AOC? I mean, how do you look at her seriously? I mean, all of these people who are doing childish and stupid things in their position, and we're supposed to be supporting them. I don't know. I maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think we're in dire straits, and I don't know how we're going to get out of it. I don't know how it's going to get better.
I don't either. I don't know how it's going to get better either, but we got to move on. And there's still a lot to go with all of that. But
I wanted to play another bit of audio. All
right. I got a couple of stories, but I was waiting here for.
Well, the guy's name is Kevin Kiley. He's a representative from California, and he took time out to list the lies by the popular Democrats. They talk. The left talks about these accusations as being baseless, Well, this guy Kiley, a Republican, he said, "Oh, they're baseless." Well, listen to what they've done, and all the things he lists are proven.
Mr. Durham, several people today, including Ranking Member Madler and 3 representatives from California, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Swalwell, and Mr. Liu, have attacked you. Ranking Member Nadler called your report a political exercise with ethical ambiguity. Mr. Liu called you a partisan hack. However, it seems that they're taking issue not so much with the conclusions of your report as those of Mr. Mueller's report, which concluded that the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. That conclusion directly contradicted statements made on the record by those representatives. For example, Mr. Schiff in 2017-2018 made statements such as, the Russians offered help, the campaign accepted help, the Russians gave help, and the president made full use of that help, and that is pretty damning. He also said there's clear evidence on the issue of collusion. He said, I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight. Mr. Durham, are those statements supported by the conclusions of the Mueller report? No. Mr. Durham, are those statements supported by the Mueller report?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Nadler stated, it's clear that the campaign concluded, and there's a lot of evidence of that. The question is, was the president involved? Mr. Nadler also said there was obviously a lot of collusion. Mr. Durham, were those statements supported by the Mueller report?
I don't believe they are supported by the Mueller report.
Mr. Liu stated in a press release in March of 2017, the bombshell revelation that U.S. officials have information that suggests Trump associates may have colluded with the Russians means we must pause the entire Trump agenda. We may have an illegitimate president of the United States currently occupying the White House. Mr. Durham, did the Mueller report establish that we had an illegitimate president occupying the White House?
Not to my knowledge.
Mr. Swalwell stated in 2018, in our investigation, we saw strong evidence of collusion. Did the Mueller report support that there was strong evidence of collusion?
Not to my knowledge.
Even here today, we had Mr. Schiff raise questions about your public statement during the investigation, saying this somehow violated a DOJ policy. However, Mr. Mueller himself made a public statement in January of 2019. This is an article from CNN, headline, Mueller's office disputes BuzzFeed report that Trump directed Michael Cohen to lie to Congress. So whatever policy there might exist in the DOJ with respect to public statements by special counsels, it would seem that you and Mr. Mueller would be on equal footing with respect to it. Is that correct?
It would seem so.
Mr. Nadler, Ranking Member Nadler also suggested that we're only here today because of the recent indictments of President Trump. However, you received your assignment as special counsel in 2019. Is that correct?
That's correct. 2020. The special counsel in 2020.
In 2020. And was that before or after the events alleged in the recent indictments by the president?
That was before.
And is it customary for a special counsel to come testify in Congress upon the issuance of the report?
This is my first experience of this sort of thing. So I know that Director Mueller had occasion to testify before Congress, so I guess this is not unique.
So it's pretty likely you would have been here whether or not the president had been recently indicted.
Yes.
Contrary to Ranking Member Nadler's statement. I want to quote from you a part of your report where you say, there are reasons why in examining politically charged and high-profile issues, the office must exercise and has exercised special care. One of those statements you said is that even when prosecutors believe that they can obtain a conviction, there are some instances in which it may not be advisable to expend government time and resources on a criminal prosecution, particularly where it could create the appearance, even if unfounded, that the government is seeking to criminalize the behavior of political opponents or punish the activities of a specific political party or campaign. Could you just expound on that a little bit, this idea that there are prudential considerations that may counsel against prosecution, even if there has been some technical violation of a statute?
Sure. The standard principles of federal prosecution include, kind of as a bedrock, that you ought not to bring a prosecution unless you believe in good faith that there's sufficient evidence to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt, and the jury will convict, and that a conviction can be sustained on appeal. There may be those instances in which you're pretty well convinced that a crime was committed and can identify the person who committed it, but you can't in good faith say a jury is likely to convict in this case. We believe that a jury will convict and that we can sustain it on appeal. Those are the principles that we try to apply here, that we followed here. The same principles I've followed for 40 years as a federal prosecutor.
But what are you referring to when you say that there might be additional considerations involving the perception that you're criminalizing the behavior of political opponents?
Yeah, I mean, these are difficult things. For example, taking this case, I think all the members of the committee have had access to, whether they took advantage or not, I don't know, but we filed a classified appendix here, right? So there are some prosecutions where it may very well be that it looks like, and you think you can prove the crime beyond a reasonable doubt, but because of the classified nature of much of your evidence, it's never going to see the light of day. So that might preclude a prosecution. Things of that sort come up that are part of the prudential judgment that a prosecutor has to make in these matters.
I yield back. Thank you.
Okay, Joe DeGeneva, who's a very respected attorney from Washington, worked in government, he said the problem with Durham is that he took too long to issue what he could have done maybe 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. We could have gotten what he came up with 2.5 years ago, and we wouldn't have been waiting around. He said that the problem is that Durham is old school. He's kind of protecting the institution as opposed to defending the country, as opposed to defending the damage that has been done to our nation by all of these wrongful deeds by these other people. So he seemed like a nice enough guy. He's a disappointment big time to me. I mean, a lot of people out there say, well, he was really good yesterday in the hearings and stuff. But I look at the report that he issued, and there's a whole litany of people that should have been indicted. I mean, the Eric Swalwells, Hillary Clinton could have been indicted. A lot of people on the left skated because this guy didn't have the cojones to indict them. But yet, the other side, you heard him say, and I thought this was telling, he said, a good prosecutor doesn't indict unless he's confident that he has the ability to win the case, that he has the evidence to win the case. And I would think that's old school. I would think that's probably the way it was 40 years ago when he got into the business. But I would bet you dollars to donuts, as they would say, that the left doesn't have that approach. Their approach on the left is indict them, no matter what we have, indict them, and the damage will be caused by the process. The indictment itself will be enough to cripple the person you're indicting. That's the difference.
Yeah, and they win by public opinion because they throw so much dirt out there, and it doesn't have to be real dirt, but it's believed when there's enough dirt, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
So people buy into that, and they do it. But the key that I took out of that is didn't think he could win didn't mean that he thought it was right. It means that he figured he couldn't win it, so why do it? And
major disappointment to me. I mean, I first, like I said, I was really disappointed with the report. I mean,
somebody, I mentioned the story earlier where somebody was going, Trump appointed, but the fact is, a lot of these appointees, well, you got to go in and appoint thousands of people when you come in as president.
Yep.
And the people that are advising you are fixtures in the White House. They've been there through several administrations.
Absolutely.
So you don't know their true colors, but chances are they are affixed to the deep state because they're protecting their jobs as well.
Bill, just one more thing. A lot of people who were in the White House or he brought back to the White House were people who had experience from the Bush administration. Who'd been and that wasn't necessarily a good thing. We found out that a lot of people who were with Bush don't particularly care for President Trump, and they actually have more in common with Barack Hussein Obama than they do with Donald Trump, and I think he knows that now. I'm sorry, but you were going to say something about another story?
Yeah, but I'll add to that though, and that's where you get into these Trump-appointed people. Like the judge that he appointed for Hunter, donated to Hillary, McCain, Romney, and then he's assigned to Hunter. Now, Trump probably thought he was a good appointee, but the name's right there, Hillary, McCain, and Romney. Yeah. So that tells you something about the guy. Story out of Boston.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is, Boston Fire Department first responders were called to a public housing complex for a man in cardiac arrest. Now, this happened Saturday morning, but Boston first responders horrified to find 4 children at transgender drag party with a dead body and drugs and sex toys scattered throughout
Unbelievable.
the home.
Unbelievable. Trust me, when we say that child trafficking is a real problem in this country right now, human child trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, human trafficking by itself of all ages is bad enough. I think you said, Bill, we're what, 4th, or are we number 1?
No, we're number 1.
Oh, wow.
We are the kingpin. We are we're top of the food chain there, so to speak, when it comes to that.
Then you hear a story like this. You wonder what are children doing in this environment? And I hate to say this, but I'm sure what they were doing there was something really bad. Okay, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, the children and young children, they're fragile, and you take them away from their parents. They're fragile on many accords, and now you got the schools going after them, trying to manipulate them, and all they want are mommy and daddy, or daddy, whatever they have. And it's tragic, it's terrible. And, the people that are behind all of this, we need to find them. And, Trump used to say it, Hillary says it, Democrats say it, we all say it, lock them up, lock them up. Well, let's start locking people up. Let's just start getting rid of some of these people because, if you're a sex trafficker or a drug trafficker, you're a murderer in my mind. I hear the construction going on outside.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You guys, everybody knows that's going on. 2 weeks of this, friends. But and that takes my train of thought away. But I'm just saying,
I got along the lines of what you were talking about.
They should be eliminated.
Bill, a former producer from CNN.
This is CNN.
A former producer of CNN has been sentenced to 19 years in prison for molesting a 9-year-old girl. 9.
Mm-hmm.
He gets 19 years, but can you imagine somebody who thinks it's okay, that it's normal, it's the right thing to molest a child? I mean, that is not wrong. That is evil personified. That is the worst thing that a human being can do, to take an innocent, a little innocent, and to molest them. I mean, well, he got his just desserts. He got 19 years. But this is the kind of thing, I'm afraid, that is happening in a lot of neighborhoods right now, and we don't know it. We don't know it. It's out there, and they're doing. We heard Jim Caviezel talk yesterday about the new movie that he's doing. They went down to Central America. They're rounding up little children. They're kidnapping them, and they're whisking them north into the United States, where they are used as sex slaves. And if they're not used as sex slaves, they are used for their body parts, meaning they kill them. They harvest them. They harvest them, exactly. Yeah. And we normal citizens of this country think, oh, that's awful. Oh, that can't be. It is so bad that we can't wrap our heads around this kind of a thing. But it is happening, and it's not being addressed. And by the way, this guy in Washington is allowing it to happen. He's allowing the borders to remain open so that these people can be trafficked into our country. It's happening every single day. I'm reminded of a story we did a few months back of a little 2-year-old child who was found alone at the border. They found a little child with no one there to protect them, and he was just wandering aimlessly. Fortunately, one of the other illegal women found him and brought him to a border guard, and he was rescued. But if he hadn't been found, he would have died in the desert, or he would have been captured by some other bad person, and God knows where that little person would be right now. I don't know what it's going to take for us to wake up to realize what's happening in our country, right now. I don't know how long it's going to be before we all realize that action has to take. I don't mean revolution, but I mean we've got to put pressure on our congressmen and our senators to get off their butt and do the right thing, not the political thing, Anyway.
There may not be enough time, though, to do all of that. Because when you look at, like I say, there are distractions all around. There's so much stuff going on. I found it interesting that Putin says, yeah, we can take out the United Kingdom in 6 minutes. Now, he's talking about the deployment of Satan II. We've heard about that missile. It can be launched from the ground. It can be launched from a plane.
Is it called Satan II?
Satan II.
Or Saturn?
I thought it was Satan, Satan.
Yeah, that's the planet, Saturn.
Okay, Saturn II, whatever it is. I always called it Satan.
Well, I think Satan and Saturn would probably. Satan is.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a nuclear.
It's
bomb.
a hell of a rocket. I know.
Yeah. So anyway, Saturn II. He's going to deploy the hypersonic Saturn II nuclear-capable missiles, along with the next generation of Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missiles. They've already got them deployed. Where is it? They've got them out there. But basically, he is saying that he is going to start using these because he's getting a little bit mad. That's part of his triad of nuclear missiles. A nuke is a nuke is a nuke. And that thing is fast, can strike us within minutes before we even knew that it was coming.
Hey, Bill, maybe I'm thinking maybe he did call it Satan too. Maybe it isn't.
I don't know. I heard somebody refer to it that way once, but either way, what is it, Belarus or something like that? They talked about that thing being in. I don't have all this.
Belarus.
I got it.
It's in Belarus. Yeah.
Yeah, Belarus. Okay, so it's there. Look, I'll blow names. I'm like that comedian once that used to be around in the 70s that, I know stuff, but I mean, I don't know all the pronunciations. But you got that going on. For the first time ever, we have put B-52 bombers in China's backyard. Now, I think there's only a couple of them, but they're in Indonesia. I got that name right. But they've got them there. Why do we have stratospheric bombers, B-52s, right there?
Because the Chinese, we're telling the Chinese essentially, you're going to put troops in Cuba, 90 miles from our shore. Well, we can do the same thing with our troops in your backyard too, and that's what they're going to do. They're saying that
Z. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying, but Z, what was it that Biden mouthed off about him the other day? Called him a dictator.
Yeah.
And Z basically, took that as an act of aggression, to call him that. So he,
Well, it doesn't take much to get the Chinese ticked off at us, but I think that everything is a plan. I mean, to think that we've given up on thinking that Taiwan is an independent nation is just mind-boggling. We should end with one up note. It's good to be Jill Biden. It's good to be Dr. Jill.
Dr. Jill,
yeah,
yes.
I'm sorry. Because the Prime Minister of India came to the White House. He came all happy, smiles, I'm good to see you. And Joe Biden took his hand and walked him over to Jill, and they just, it was a love fest. And that evening, as a token of his friendship to Dr. Jill, he handed her an eco-friendly, I don't know how it can be eco-friendly, 7.5 carat diamond. 7.5 carat. This sucker was the size of a softball.
Is that legal?
I don't know, but he did it. But then again, wait a second. We're talking about the Biden administration. Are you paying attention?
Yeah.
The Biden administration. Is anything they do legal?
Okay, because part of the Democrats' cry when they went to Mar-a-Lago is that gifts that were given to Trump,
right.
And I understood that they could only be a certain value, but they claimed they couldn't be taken out of the White House. So, Jill, you better take that damn ring off and give it back to the government.
Well, maybe it was given to Jill personally, and maybe it's different. Maybe the rules and regulations are different when they're given to Jill.
Well, no, they're different between Democrats and Republicans.
That's true, too. Yes, absolutely. Well, anyway, 7.5 carat. I mean, how do you put that in a setting? Do you wear that on your finger? I mean, it would make your hand heavy. Or do you wear it as a necklace or something? I mean, 7.5 carat.
Well, was it cut? Because
it was gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, geez.
I mean, this was not something they picked out of the soil and, dusted it off and gave it to her. This thing was beautiful. Nice.
Like that diamond.
What would that be worth, you think? 7.5 carat. It's got to be worth $100,000 at least.
Oh, probably more than
that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that place in Arkansas. If you're ever traveling through the country and you're probably going, you'll go right by it, and it says the diamond mine. You can actually go there and pay so much for a bucket to scoop in the dirt, because as they mine, they dump the dirt, and whatever they didn't get through the sifting, and people have found, most people just get a bucket of dirt, but every once in a while, something gets through.
Well,
and
I got 7.5 carats one, and I also got a potato.
And that potato on a ring, your wife didn't like it, did she?
No, she did not like it. Hey, look, if you want to get a hold of us, our number is 833-538-7868, 833-538-7868.
Mail at itsanotherday.com. Mail at itsanotherday.com.
Boy, I like how you say that. I really do.
I had to do it that way.
Certain amount of finesse to that.
I can't do that announcer, that
Johnny Olsen sound?
No, the James Earl Jones. This is, I can't do that.
This is CNN.
Actually, you can hear his voice. It's really, they pump the lows, they pump the compression.
They put a ton of processing on his voice.
He's really kind of up here. This is CNN.
Yes, but with the compression and all of the processing, he sounds like he's broadcasting from the halls of heaven.
I was waiting for the sea to part, or at least the water in my bathtub. But
I would go check. Hey, have a real good day, my friend. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan.
This is CNN.
Someone get him out of here, please.
Yeah, get him out of here.
The voice of freedom, CRN America. These days, when you want an answer about just about anything, you ask Alexa. You ask her about the weather. You ask her who won your favorite sporting event. You ask her to find a fact that you can't find anywhere. Well, we did that too. We asked her how many people have downloaded itsanotherday.com. And this is what she said.
From acceleration.com, it has been downloaded as much as 260,433,467 times.
I know. Seems like a lot. Seems like a lot to us, too. But it's Alexa. Thanks for making us a part of your day. And tell your friends about itsanotherday.com. We could use an extra listener. I mean, what do you do when you only have 260 million?